Look who is with me. You may recognize Judge Alex. Judge Alex has had a show on TV here for a zillion years.
8 seasons, 8 years.
8 seasons. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm taping number 9 right now.
The judges are like the richest people on TV, I think. I read some report recently, like the kind of money that Judge Judy is.
Judy is. Judy is offensively wealthy.
I'm going, what? I really should have gone to law school like I wanted to back in the day. And wanted to be a judge. But anywho, let's talk to Judge Alex, you guys. But first, let me introduce everybody here in the Hangout. We have Trev. He's hanging out with us from Yorkshire. He's in the UK.
Excellent.
Kempton is in Calgary, Canada. Justin is also in England, actually, this morning. And we have Drew, who is here in the Valley.
Good morning.
Here in LA.
Good morning, guys.
And for those of you watching on air, thanks so much. If you want to join the Hangout, just jump in. Hopefully, I sent you guys all an invite. Anyway, we get up to 9 other people besides that, so you may see a couple other faces.
Okay.
Here. So, Judge Alex, 8 seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of cases.
Yeah. That's a lot of torment.
Yes.
A lot of crazies.
How could you keep going?
And we and it's also the way we tape it too, because we tape.
You do like 4 in a day, do you not?
No, we do 9 to 10 a day, 9 to 10 trials a day. So
here's the thing, you guys: they do 9 or 10 trials a day, and then you're off for like 6 months.
8 months. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I really want this job.
Yeah, I work like a beast when I'm taping. Actually, it's not a bad gig, I have to tell you, to be honest.
It's a great gig.
But my days are like when I'm taping. Like right now, tomorrow I will tape. Tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. I start at 6 in the morning. I'm up. I'm taping all day. I go back to the room and I prepare all night because unlike Judy or the other judges, I do it according to the law where the case originated. So my first case, So you'll never hear Judy say, "Oh, well, in Nebraska the law is," because she uses a general fairness principle. She just does whatever she thinks is right, which is what Joe Brown does and the other judges do. They just basically decide it the way they want, which is there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when I was told that we were going to be bringing in litigants from all over the country to do their show, which is what everybody does, to do their case in front of us, I said, well, then we should probably try the case according to the law where they came from, because there's no reason that somebody from New York should get a different result in front of me just because I feel, well, that's what it should be.
Just for you guys who are not familiar with the show, do you do just small claims stuff?
All small claims, yeah. Okay. Basically, if you've seen Judge Judy or People's Court, it's the same type of show. It's small claims cases, and they agree to have me resolve them. Neither I nor Judy nor Marilyn Milian on People's Court, none of us have jurisdiction all over the country. So what we do is it's binding arbitration. Everybody signs a contract saying that we are their judge, and whatever we decide is final. So they're very final. Our rulings are very final.
There's no appeal.
There's no appeal from it at all.
Because arbitration.
Yes, it's binding arbitration. It's more final than when I was a judge in Miami because there was an appeal from that.
Appeal court, Supreme Court.
So we bring them in and we fly them in. And I always said, well, you know, I should learn the law for the I should learn the law of their jurisdiction. So I do. So my first case might be Nebraska. And I have to know Nebraska law on a dog bite, whether they have a 1-bite rule or whether they have strict liability. If your dog bites, you're responsible or whatever, and whether they have a leash law in that county. So I have to prepare for that. And then the second case might be New York, and it might be a landlord-tenant dispute. So
that is crazy. You got like 10 of these,
9 or 10 a day. So I'll tape all day, and then I'll come back to the room at 6 at night, 6:30, and I will review all the research that I asked for to make sure that when I get on the bench, I know Nebraska law, New York law, California law, and all that.
Trev, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's got to make you one of the most legally knowledgeable people in the country, hasn't it?
Well, my mom thinks so, definitely. I would say. My mother would agree with that. No, you know what happens is you can't really retain it. It's Trev.
Right. Yes, Trev.
Yeah, you can't really retain
Short
it.
term,
I tend to, you know, it's kind of like a bathtub. You know, you fill it up with water, and then when you're done, you unplug it, and it all drains out because I couldn't possibly keep all that in my head. So I can't tell you the number of times I've tried the same issue for Texas, let's say, but I won't remember it. I have to go back and look at it again and go, okay, yeah, that's what the law is in Texas.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I was wondering, because a lot of it's small claims, and having watched things like Judge Judy and a few of the other programs along the same lines, does it ever annoy you that a good percentage are really sort of wasting your time. They're things that shouldn't have even got that far.
Yeah,
No,
no.
you know,
Nah.
I will say that a few times I have had that feeling. There's a few times where I've kind of called them out for the silliness of their lawsuit. But most of the time, people sue over things they're passionate over. And they're really, America is, I'm sure in England it's the same. The run-of-the-day people, or the run-of-the-mill people, you know, the citizens are really upset about the things that affect their life. They really couldn't care less about IBM suing Microsoft over antitrust violations. They don't care. But they do care. They do care that their best friend charged them $1,100 to photograph their wedding and showed up with a bag full of the little disposable Instamatic cameras, which did happen in one of my cases. So those things really are important to them. So to me, when I left the bench, I was trying very, very serious criminal murders, rapes, robbers, kidnappers. And I thought to myself, how am I going to get excited about these little small claims cases? But when you see how passionate these people are about their cases and how much it meant to them, I had a woman sue for $40. She paid $70. She paid $70 in clerk's fees to sue for $40, and she didn't even ask for the clerk fee back, the filing fees. So she just wanted somebody to tell this person they were wrong.
Yeah.
So
yes,
Judge,
Kempton, go ahead.
Yeah, Judge Alex, I want to ask you. So when you're a real judge, what was one of the most dress down that you have given to the lawyers or the offenders? And also, in terms of court case, what was the most funniest judgment that you actually have written? Like you try to sneak in the jibes and put it right in the actual case.
Yeah, I tell you, when it comes to funniest cases, I don't know how I could begin, because I find humor in most of my cases. I tend to joke around a bit, but I will turn the switch like that. If somebody's being disrespectful or rude, I can turn on them in a dime and kick them out of my courtroom or whatever. But we have funny cases all the time. I mean, all the time, and most of the time, part of the time it's their humor, part of the time it's my humor. Sometimes we mesh well. I guess the sanctions and stuff, you know, of course I've held people in contempt. When I was on the bench in Miami, I've locked people up for their misbehavior in court or things like that. I've never had to lock up a lawyer, although I've certainly threatened on occasion. I tend to try to bend over backwards not to do that to them, but there are times when I've come very close. As far as general cases that have been really significant, there's a movie coming out now, Pain and Gain. Michael Bay filmed it with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg as bodybuilder defendants, who were basically kidnapping wealthy people and trying to kill them, take all their money and kill them. It's coming out in April. That's my case. I tried that case as a judge in Miami.
That's a real case.
Yeah, that's a real case.
Wow.
In fact, I was actually contacted by Michael Bay to see if I would be in the movie as the judge, and I definitely wanted to do that, but unfortunately I was giving a commencement speech at a university in Boston and I wasn't able to do it, so I missed out my one opportunity to be on the big screen.
Hey, here's another one. There are more opportunities. How do you go from being a real full-fledged judge on the bench in Florida, putting away bad guys, to doing 9 tapings a day in front of cameras?
There's no training, I'll tell you that. I was at a point where I was being interviewed by the governor. Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida at the time, and there were vacancies on the appeals court, and I was about to be interviewed. I was the front runner of all the applicants. I was the only one who came out of committee with 9 yes votes for the position. And being former law enforcement, the governor's always been very pro law enforcement. I was born in Cuba. He's always been very pro promoting minorities. So I looked like I had a really good shot at it. And then all of a sudden, 20th Television, the syndication branch of Fox, came and invited me to do a TV show. And I had a real fork in the road. I mean, you know, to do this, try to take this appellate position to be in the appeals court, which is huge, or go to TV where, you know, I don't know if you all know this, but about 8 out of every 10 new TV shows fail. So, and those are people who know what they're doing. I'm just a judge. So what are the odds I'm going to do this, give it up? 1 year later, I'll be out of a job and I won't have a TV show. But we did. We jumped into it, and
8 seasons later.
Well, we hit the ground. We actually hit the ground running. We were the highest rated new daytime show. We beat out Tyra Banks and Martha Stewart, who launched with us. And
you have a very successful model.
We've been doing well.
Truly, Justin. Yes, you have a question.
Yeah, is it? Do you find it's more gratifying doing this instead of all the really big heavy cases that you were doing before? It must be more relaxing like this.
No, I find it gratifying at times because I I find it gratifying because I enjoy what I do. I mean, there's a very good feeling about always trying to do the right thing. I got a lot of personal gratification out of being a judge on the state court bench. I was primarily a criminal court judge, and you're locking away a lot of very bad people who hurt a lot of people. And that's very satisfying. What I do now is very gratifying as well, because these people really they're real disputes, and it may not seem like a lot to other people, but to them it's enough. It bothered them enough that they went to the trouble of going to the courthouse, spending their money to file a complaint so somebody could hear it. So I find that gratifying as well. But the thing is that is a good point that you bring up, because I was a police officer first. I was the youngest.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was the youngest police officer in Miami. I was 19 years old, and I worked my way through college and through undergrad, became a lawyer, and then became the youngest judge in Miami at 34, circuit judge. And I went to become a judge because I didn't find the gratification, the satisfaction, as you mentioned, in being a lawyer. When I went from police officer to lawyer, of course, my salary shot through the roof, but I didn't find it satisfying. I was always somebody's hired gun, as opposed to when I was a cop, I was always trying to do the right thing. And I started thinking to myself, I wonder where I can get that. I wonder where I can get the personal satisfaction that I got out of being a police officer. And I said to myself, I'll bet that being a judge is very gratifying. You're always trying to do the right thing. You're restrained by the laws, but generally your sense of justice and the laws, for the most part, go hand in hand. So I jumped in and became a judge, and it was great. It satisfied me.
What do you do when you're not taping the shows? Because you have some time.
Yeah, I do have some time. The interesting thing is I get hired all the time as a private judge, as an arbitrator, and as a mediator. A lot of the lawyers who knew me.
But isn't that the last thing you want to do?
No, I love doing it. I really do. A lot of the lawyers who knew me when I was a judge in Miami, of course, once I left the bench, came to me and said, well, now that you're not on the state court bench, you can actually mediate or arbitrate. Would you mind helping us resolve this case? And so it's kind of interesting, because you see the looks on clients' faces sometimes when they go, Judge Alex is our judge, or our mediator or something. But I enjoy doing it, so I do that. I of course travel around and promote our show. I do that, and I enjoy my time off. I ride motorcycles, I work out, I do different things.
Do you have any advice for people who are contemplating taking someone to court? Like, what should they do? Get all your evidence together, because I can't tell you the number of people who appear in front of me and just expect me to accept their version. Like, the other side is not going to give their version, right? So, but see, you have an advantage today that people didn't have years ago. What typically you see all the time is you loan somebody money and then they don't pay you back, and then they go, oh, it was a gift, or he was make
paying.
them sign a promissory note.
Of course, but even if you don't make them sign a promissory note, and this always happens with family and friends, because you never make your family and friends sign a promissory note. That's why most of the cases I get are family and friends, because strangers, you will do that. They'll sign here, but there's family and friends, you trust them, and then inevitably they start thinking, oh, wait a minute, all the things I've done for you, why should I have to pay you back? But even if you didn't get the promissory note, you can fix it. Nowadays with technology, you send somebody an email or a text message. That's
admissible.
Sure,
right?
and you send it to them saying, hey, when are you going to pay me back the $3,000 you owe me? And typically they won't deny it, because they're not in court. They'll just say, as soon as I get the money. Now you've established that this was a loan. So when they come to court and they say, oh, it was a gift, you've got text message of them saying, I'll pay you back as soon as I get the money. So
that's brilliant.
You can actually fix it after the fact.
Which
is great.
If you're thinking about taking them to court. I have this, I don't know if we have time. I'm sure you have to go on the set, but I have one case that was about to go to court, but it never did. And I was just curious how you would judge on it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to just take a minute, okay?
Sure.
I divorced my husband.
I have a friend, right?
My ex-husband. I'm married now. I'm very happily married, thank God. But my previous husband, we had a dog. And apparently, I didn't know this, but the dog is property. It's right. It is. So the dog was in me and my son's home, and then my parents took care of the dog for years, like 2-3 years almost. Well, the ex came in and took the dog and said, "I'm just going to borrow." We would have visitation, with him. So the ex came in and never brought the dog back.
And was the dog part of the divorce settlement? Did the divorce settlement say the dog goes?
No,
because people do that.
I know they do, and we made the mistake of not doing that. But we would just have visitation. Well, my son grew up and moved out of the house, so he felt then I'm going to take the dog back. And I said, "Don't do that. The dog's been with my parents now for 3 years. We see her every week.
Right.
Please don't take her away from our parents." So we went to court. We're about to. and the dog passed away.
Oh,
Which really, I have not forgiven him for that, because the dog was already 15 years old. I said, don't upset her, and sure enough, in his care, she passed away.
Well, she's 15 years old.
Right.
Who's
so
to say?
How would you have?
When it comes to any case, it doesn't matter if it's a dog case or anything else. I really don't like to predict how I would have ruled until I hear the evidence. And the reason is because, as you know, really the credibility of the witnesses and all of the little nuances in the evidence are what make the decision. If the dog, I have to hear details about where the dog spent its time. And it sounds really mundane because it actually is a very small case. And I don't.
It is, but you
people
said,
become
like,
attached
I
to their
cry thinking about
people
it.
become attached to their dogs, their family members. Dogs aren't like at the turn of the century where a dog was utilitarian.
Family,
back then, dogs were like, you used them to keep away,
burglars or something.
Whatever, burglars. Well, you still use them for that, but keep away foxes from your ranch or things like this. And nobody treated them as family. Now they're part of the family, and you lose a dog, it's like losing a child. So it's a lot more emotional for people. But I would just say I listen to all the evidence, and I make up my decision based upon the evidence I heard. Sometimes I go into cases thinking I'm going to rule this way, because you always have a predisposition, but as a judge,
the dog didn't even live with him. Oh my God!
Oh, I'm sorry. You're giving me more details now.
No, she gave him. I have to let him go.
A few facts that
You
I
have to
don't
let him
know.
go. Oh, Judge Alex, I have a question.
Okay.
For
So
you.
then he took the dog, and
You get the
then
dog. You get the dog. That's
they-
it.
You get a dog. Right. Oh, yeah.
take a photo with us, Judge Alex. Here's the
Absolutely.
camera.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Well, our lawyer said that
Thanks,
there's
Judge
no
Alex.
way the judge
Thank
would
you.
go against you guys, and I bet
Well,
my
I'm sure you
case-
told your lawyer all the facts.
I did.
Nice meeting all
All
of
right,
you.
thanks for your time. That was great.
Thanks for coming.